still this morning on ITV, and I did say that we'll be looking at a very important and sensitive topic that has been on the front burner in the Nigerian polity, talking about National Assembly and the integrity question. Well, kickstarting this with me from my extreme left, I have a one-time gubernatorial candidate in Edo State in the previous governorship race, Comrade Cosmos Irabo, who is also a legal practitioner. Many thanks for coming.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you so much.
And of course, I also have our former Commissioner for Energy and Water Resources under the administration of former Governor Adams Oshomole, and also one-time Commissioner for Higher Education, Washington Osifo, also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And of course, I have a very, very immaculate and gentle young man who is a medical practitioner, Dr. Michael Osamudiame Obasuyi. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's kickstart this discussion with you, Comrade Cosmos. You are a custodian of the law, and you've been following reports of Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, which is a human rights group and non-governmental organization, most especially as they fight the case against the federal government, asking that their investigation be conducted on the alleged padding of the 2016 budget and the stealing of about 481 billion naira from the 2016 budget. This actually was kick-started last year, and there's a reminder this year about what do you make of this in terms of robbing on the integrity of the National Assembly?
Well, my take is simple. This 8th Assembly, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best so far. All others, in my opinion, can be best described as rubber stamp. The essence of the National Assembly is to act as a checkmate on the excesses of the executive. But because these ones, due to perhaps the formation, that is, for the first time we're having, even when there's a ruling party, we're having an opposition party as the deputy president of Senate. You know, I think as a result of that, the executive did not find it funny. And then, in my opinion, there have been a lot of persecution on the 8th Assembly as led by
Dr.
Bukola Saraki. So that's the genesis of the whole crisis. And anchored on that, this 8th Assembly have been doing precisely what I feel they should do.
But you quite agree with me during the budget process of the 2016, where issues of padding came up.
You see, this issue of padding, they are saying, as far as I'm concerned, they are allegations. They are mere allegations. And I asked a simple question. This padding was supposed to be 2016. For crying out loud, we're in 2019. How come the whole thing is coming up again now? That election is close. How come it's coming up? All this while, why didn't they raise up the issue, address it, and put it to an end? That's what I expect a body that has integrity to do. You raise it up and make sure it comes to an end. You see, for the fact that it is no news now that those in National Assembly have been persecuted. Of recent, you heard of the last one where the Senate President himself, they said, is involved in armed robbery. And it's something that will make you laugh, because you are talking about integrity of the National Assembly. He is the leader of the National Assembly. That a whole Senate President who was 2 times executive governor of a state, now Senate President, from, of course, we know a family that is not a poor family, being involved in armed robbery. Is it not laughable? You see, because when we are doing this, we forget that Nigerians are not fools.
So your opinion is that the executive is out to persecute
the National Assembly, because for the first time they are doing the right thing. They are no longer attached to the apron strings of the executive, like you see in most states, where the state assembly members are attached to the prospects of it. It happened in Delta State, where the State Assembly said Ibori did not take anything, they checked their records, everything. But before, when he was prosecuted, they are not saying the money coming, they want it. What out of nothing, can anything come out?
Well, Washington Osifo, you've been following events. Do you see this as a persecution coming from the executive?
Well, let's try to distinguish the issues here so that with the process we don't muddle things up. I know there's a link between the character of those who constitute the assembly and, of course, what they are being accused of.
Yeah.
There's a link. And in attempting to dissect this, we must not model the things in a way that it takes you, even the moderator, away from the focus, which, of course, is the 400, and you are talking about the padding of the budget.
Yeah, of the 2016 budget.
Of the 2016 budget. I don't think that has anything to do with whether the assembly, they've conducted themselves well in terms of relationship with the executive or not. If a group that is supposed to be a watchdog in democratic setting have reasons to believe that some of the players or major players in the democracy, they have questions to answer, they are at liberty to push an arm of government to say, do this. I listened very carefully to you, the way you introduced the matter. 2016, it started, and you have been following. If you've been following, there is a trail.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that it happened the first thing is the fact that it happened, an allegation was made in 2016. It does not kill it in 2019, in 2018. It is still a going concern. And I'm sure the reason, whether it is close to election, whether it is near or far from election, that will not be an issue. Because a criminal allegation does not die. It endures until it is completely dealt with by the appropriate authority, which of course will be the court. Now, what is now the issue, this padding? Padding is a phraseology that came to the political lexicon of Nigeria in 2016, 2015, and all of that. And it has become part of us. And unfortunately, Nigerians are so swiftly carried along with phraseology that they've never heard before. It becomes so sweet in their tongue, and how it touches on the operations of an authority, as it were, that is not their business. Now, what is this padding, if I understand in my simple language? An attempt by the legislative arm to tinker with the appropriation bill before them, in a way that suggests that they add or take away. Then, for me, that is what they call, that is what this party is all about.
Yes, which is illegal.
Now, the legality or otherwise of that is one thing. Again, when it now eventually becomes budget, because if you want to call that padding, it means that the legislative arm in the entire federation, and perhaps outside this country, they are guilty of that padding. Because if you take a bill to them, an appropriation bill to them, they dissect it. They can either add to their own and add to your own, or remove from your own and remove from their own. But in most cases, they add
to theirs.
Yes. What even worries me is not that they add to the one of the executive. What worries me is the question of morality, within the House. If they want to add it to the executive, it is not really that they believe that it should be added to executive. These are my opinions. But what they believe is that how can we justify adding to ours if we don't also add something to theirs? So what you find is that they give some to themselves, and they also give some, and they take the number up.
Okay.
And in taking the number up, you don't even ask yourself, where is this funding going to come from? So now, at the end of the day, what you see is that you see a budget whose capital head doesn't perform as much as is expected. What performs is just the salary and overheads and all of that. Yeah. Now, talking about this padding, it is not as if it is a deliberate attempt to steal. No. Thank God for now, for today, the issue of constituency project is no longer in vogue as it used to be. But what they try to do is to say XYZ will be needed for their constituency project, for running their constituency project. And if this is the case, this amount that is budgeted by the executive arm, of course, which has the responsibility to also prepare and present the appropriation bill, which eventually becomes budget when it has gone through the process, when it is signed and all of that. Now, they take the numbers up. In performance, in most cases, it doesn't even get to them. A fraction of it does, but all that is appropriated.
Okay, so
it does not get.
In all you are saying, you don't see anything wrong per se as it relates to padding of the budget.
I don't even want to use the word padding.
Okay,
because
let me pause you there.
Yeah.
Now to you, Dr. Michael. You've been following trends, yes. And I know you've always had this interest in ensuring that the polity, the Nigerian polity, has a very good and followership, where the leaders represent themselves properly in a way that the followers will take after them.
Yes.
But do you see the National Assembly, the 8th National Assembly, as transparent enough? Because there was a time when there were issues about publishing the books of the National Assembly.
Yes.
And the issue of the 481 billion naira coming in. Don't you think this rubs on the integrity of the National Assembly?
Well, I would like to look at this from 2 points of view. Barrister Irabo said something when he was speaking. You see, ever since the inception of the 8th Senate, the emergence of the 8th Senate, there has been this bone of contention between the 8th Senate with the executives. They have been at loggerheads.
At loggerheads.
You know, this is not far-fetched. The issue of budget padding is true.
Is it legal or illegal?
Well, I'm coming. The issue of budget padding is true. Actually, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala reported it in her own book, where she categorically stated that every time a bill is being presented to the National Assembly for passage, there is usually a fraction added to that amount or to those amounts to be passed. You know, this thing did not just start recently. It started since 1999, during Obasanjo's time. Every year, 100 billion naira is set aside for some people. Let me use the word people.
To pay their way through.
To pay their way through in the National Assembly, of which 40 billion naira is reserved for the principals.
So which means there seems to be a collaboration
there
between
is
the
a collaboration,
and the legislature.
Because there's nothing that will happen in the lower chambers, which is the green chambers, that the red chambers will not be aware of. So in my own point of view, there is a serious issue of budget padding going on in the National Assembly as we speak. But not every one of them is involved in this act.
Yeah.
Honorable Jibrin complained the other time, of which he addressed the issue to Dogara. Dogara said he would look into it, but nothing was done about it. Ever since, the issue of budget padding seemed to subside. But the issue is, even as we speak now, even the MDAs, the government parastatals, and all other areas of the government establishments are involved with padding, like my colleague, Honorable Wilson, rightly said. Padding goes on even as we speak.
You mean Honorable Washington?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So padding is like adding to what has already been stated in a document.
Okay, but in a sentence,
yes.
Would you say that padding
is illegal?
Right?
It's unconstitutional. It's unheard of. Because if you tell us that you are adding some amount of money you use to run elections into the budget, that is to say you are using taxpayers' monies for your elections, which is illegal. It goes against the United Nations Convention, Act 15 of the United Nations Convention, which says that public funds must be well managed and used for the people and by the people, and not for personal gains. Like me now, if I want to contest now for House of Assembly elections, and after winning the elections, I will not tell you that, you know, this year's budget is so billion naira.
Yes.
But we, the honorable members of the House, we spent 5 billion naira for our campaigns, so we're going to add it to the budget.
The election money must be recovered.
Exactly, the election money must be recovered, which is grossly illegal.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Michael, for bringing that on. I think that reminds me of what transpired, looking at the book of the former Minister of Finance, Okonjo-Iweala, particularly at page 80, where she wrote a book which is titled Fighting Corruption is Dangerous. And it was tracked on page 80 that 17 billion naira was forced into the 2015 budget as a way for them to approve that budget.
As a condition.
Yeah, as a condition. And now, looking at that, is this not something that needs to be dealt with? Is it not something that needs to be brought to the court and those who are indicted, prosecuted, as the SERAP Socio-Economic Rights Accountability Project are doing? Comrade Cosmos.
You see, well, that is Okonjo-Iweala's book. I don't know if it has been investigated. I don't know if a court of competent jurisdiction has come out to pronounce that actually a thing like that took place, or there's a conviction on it. So I have not read the book.
No, the investigations were on.
Who investigated?
And the persons that were indicted, as reports had it, was the former Senate President David Mark.
Yes, David.
And the former Speaker, House of Rep, Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, who is currently the governor of Sokoto State.
So the issue is who carried out the investigation?
Who carries out investigation outside the federal government, outside the anti-graft agencies?
I wouldn't want to delve into speculation. Pardon, in its true sense, pardon is not unconstitutional. It is their responsibility to add or to subtract. It's just that most of the times these days, they add. So long as the adding is to ministries, you understand, to do the precise thing, I have nothing wrong, nothing against that. But if it is added outside the ministries, so to say, for their own personal gain, then there I could frown to, at that. But pardon itself is not constitutional, because pardon in our concept is add. When you're subtracting, you are not pardoning, because pardon has to do with addition.
But you remember vividly where the president clearly stated that he wants to ensure that there's no padding of the budget as at the time he took over leadership. And so, being that as it is, if there is any outer of padding which has to do with what is not as a condition or as prescribed by the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, shouldn't it be dealt with?
You see, what I heard the president said, he said in all throughout his life, even as a military head of state, he had never had a pardon before. That is the first time he's hearing of the word pardon. That's the one I heard him say. You see, like I am saying that I will still continue to say, pardon is not constitutional. It depends on the concept at which you are viewing it. Pardon has to do with add, and this will have the constitutional right to either add or subtract. That's why it goes to them. You understand? So, when people say pad, I really don't see anything wrong with it. At all. As far as I'm concerned, this 8th assembly, they are doing just good, in my personal opinion. Because they are doing the precise role they are supposed to play. They are having issues with the executive because they have stopped being the usual rubber stamp. Okay. Because the topic we have here is the integrity of the National Assembly. Perhaps I'm towing this line.
Okay, let's look at what Mohammed Idris said, Justice Mohammed Idris, where he delivered a judgment in Lagos, Washington, Osifo. And he made it clear that he gave an order to the president to instruct the anti-graft agencies to forward him the report of investigations they've conducted and to also find a way to prosecute those indicted in that report as it relates to the pardon of the 2016 budget and the 481 billion naira allegedly stolen. Don't you see that the fact that these reports were already there and they were already being investigated, and as information have it, the case file for prosecuting those indicted were ready? Don't you smell a foul play? Why should the federal government wait until this issue is raised up? Don't you smell a foul play from the executive?
Well, first, let us lay this thing in proper perspective so that it doesn't look as if we just come here to to waste our time. This issue of pardon, like I said before, is, thank God he confirmed it now, that the president said all through his life he has not heard it before. Convenient phraseology brought into our political lexicon, like I said, by somebody who felt it was convenient for. But let us also put this on note, that assuming without considering that we have accepted that it has become part of us, that word pardon, the intention for doing it must be examined along with the action that is done. If the intention is to make good the reason for why passing the appropriation bill to become law, you know, if you see that there are deficits, and that deficit can be cured by adding, and it will not add value to your own pocket, but it is done in public interest, that in itself is acceptable. That in itself is acceptable. But it will be wrong if the only reason for doing it is to line your pocket with public funds, and you benefit from public funds. Of course, it is an offense that will take you to the courts, and if found guilty, you go behind bars and all of that. But you have also said that yes, the matter came before His Lordship somewhere in Lagos, and he has asked that the books should be dusted and we have prosecuted,
yes,
and all of that. Yes. And you said, don't you think that the executive is...
Yeah, why wait till now? Why haven't they done this all this while? Because investigations reveal that the file, the case for prosecution has been ready, but yes, the executive has not been taking any action on it. Don't you smell a foul play?
You know, the reason why you are seeing it like this is because you believe that when they say executive, when they say government, you are not part of it. It is our responsibility collectively to drive a system. And the day you take yourself out of it, that day will begin to fail. Therefore, the SERAP group that you just talked about is a non-governmental organization. They are watchdog in their own right, and they are interested in how the government is running the activities of the people. And if for any reason they believe that arm of government is misbehaving, it is their responsibility to draw the attention of the other arm, whoso have the responsibility to do. And they have gone to court to say, you have the duty to further investigate and ensure that you bring them to justice. That's exactly what they have done. The court on their own cannot assume this except somebody brings it before the court. The executive, yes, they can do this, but you also have to draw their attention to it where they are not so convinced that it is happening, or they are convinced but they've not really had time to also do it. But I know the reason why all this is coming up, just like you rightly said, that because election is coming, must the system be shut down, and nobody must do anything to fine-tune the system simply because you'll be accused of manipulating the system for... So, okay,
but you see the president as having the will to really ensure that the names of those indicted are published?
No. You see, I don't know why people are also quick to media prosecution. You, in the media part of it, you too must also be very careful. I am not interested in media prosecution. I am not interested in naming. If you are convinced as to the character or conduct of the person while in office has fouled the law of the land, you understand, the necessary thing to do is to go to court, charge it to court. It is not media prosecution and start listing the names of those that are... Let us hear that they are already in court. Let us hear that you are pursuing to get result in court, and let us see that they are either convicted or let off the hook. And when the matter is before the court, yes, the media will follow it, and we will know those that are in court and those that are not in court. So by taking steps to first list them, that these ones have been indicted, you see, a mere investigation is not the same thing as conviction. You must go to court. What it affords you is that having investigated, you either leave it there and wait for the appropriate time, or you take it to the next level, which of course is the judiciary. That is what they're asking for, and that is what should be done. So let us leave media persecution, so that at the end of the prosecution, so that at the end of the day, if you don't get anything from it, you don't feel stupid.
Okay, I don't know why you call it that. I don't know why you term it that as media persecution. But
because you said why were their names not listed?
No, being that we have a common patrimony.
Yes.
And what we are having here is the integrity of the National Assembly, the essence of having a transparent government. And being that as it is, doesn't the public deserve that right to know those who are as alleged or being indicted?
I think what the public is interested in, or what the public should be interested in, is taking them to trial at the court.
Being prosecuted.
Excuse me, taking them to trial at the court, let them pass through the means of justice.
Yes.
Let them get out of it, either clean or burnt, and at the end of the end product, that is what Nigerians are interested in. Not when you hear today that there will be a media trial, Nigerians will take it as what they take to bed and take out of bed, and at the end of the day, everything goes down. No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in taking them to court. Let them pass through the mill, like I said. It's either they come out clean or they come out burnt. That will serve the cause of justice and all of that. But I do not even pity the National Assembly. I do not pity them. The reason why I do not pity them is that if you conduct yourself in a manner that makes you become very highly suspicious, the pity will be gone. I have followed the activities, like you have reminded us, from the point of inauguration till date. Very many of them, particularly the leadership of that house, they have not conducted themselves in a way that will give good salute to democracy. They have seen themselves as opposition in government. They have seen themselves as using power maliciously to hunt or deal with another arm of government. They have seen themselves as someone who is supreme in the arrangement of separation of powers, whereas none is inferior. They are just equal. They have seen themselves that if you do this to me, I will do this to you. Using the common patrimony, to use your language, the common patrimony and the common field of all of us Nigerians to trade where it is convenient with them, and against each other, and try to outdo each other. Where the two elephants fight, who suffers? The grass. Who are the grasses? You and I. Things are not moving because that institution, they've not behaved like as if they are responsible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let me pause you there. Still with you, Dr. Michael. Yes. Let's look at the aspects still on this issue of the integrity of the National Assembly.
Yes.
And recently, we just have the alleged involvement of the Senate President with this offer robbery.
Yes.
And he has, just as latest information has it, that he has within 48 hours to have a written defense sent. What do you have to say in this?
Yes, before they told him to report to the police headquarters for a written statement.
Yes.
But later, a closed-door meeting was held where the Vice President chaired it, invited the Inspector General of Police with the DSS chief, and they discussed. And after that meeting, the whole thing was changed. We now started to hear that they have actually told him not to come, but to just write a written account of what he knows of that case.
Okay.
You see, men looking at that, you can see that there's actually a foul play somewhere. We know that Saraki himself has been a governor in Kwara State for 2 terms. Now, currently, he is the head of the Senate. How can somebody who has been a governor for 8 years, he has seen money there, let me not use the word loot, he has seen money there, and somebody who has sucked the National Assembly for 7 years, now steps so low as to robbing a bank? How much can he get from there? I don't know if you understand.
No, but don't forget that the suspects said that they were political talks of the Senate President.
Anybody can induce,
and the governor of Kwara State.
Anybody can induce a suspect to say anything they want to say.
But do you forget so quickly that thuggery in politics
has
always been fueled by some politicians?
Yes. You see, the issue is this. Those people who robbed those banks, those 5 gang leaders, may have really truly been political talks of Saraki and the governor Ahmed. Okay? But they may have been disbanded.
With weapons still with them?
They may have been disbanded. Okay? And now...
Without weapons taken
and now,
from them.
if you look at the statement, you saw that they now traced the vehicle, which they wrote Saraki at the back as the plate number, to the government house. The PA Politica, the personal assistant political matters to Governor Ahmed, was said to have instructed that that vehicle be brought to the government house. So if you look at it, you see that it's a state matter. It doesn't concern Saraki.
So what you are saying is that it's a frame-up?
It's a frame-up.
Like what the Senate President said.
It's so clear.
That,
if it is me now...
The IGP,
yes,
Ibrahim Idris,
yes,
is acting based on his refusal not to honor the invitation.
Exactly, that is it. Because the thing is this. Okay. If me, I want to rob a bank, I will not come with my face open. I will use a mask. So if Saraki wants to rob a bank or wants to instruct that a bank should be robbed in his name, he will not go and write Saraki as the plate number. Like I just made a statement. Somebody who has, sucked somewhere dry for 8 years, and then someone who has been in power for 7 years in the National Assembly, who is a political big boy. How can the person now stoop so low as to robbing a bank in his own name written?
Okay.
So I don't think. I think that is a ploy.
Cosmos, let's follow this up logically. We've always had some politicians having going with boys. They call in quote thugs, and this actually has been what we've been against in ensuring that we enthrone liberal democracy. That in itself is negative. Don't you think those political thugs later become criminals after they've been able to deliver on getting their boss elected? Don't you think that was what transpired in the case of the Senate President as alleged being involved in the offer robbery?
You see, in the first instance, political thuggery is criminal. Once you say you are a thug, by implication, you are saying you are a criminal. To some extent, I have really not followed up that matter well because of certain things. But I don't know what the police is actually alleging the Senate President of. Is it unlawful possession of firearms or actual robbery? Because one, I also am not so clear about the confession of the people that said they indicted the Senate President. But what is obvious to Nigerians, because whenever I speak on this platform, I always make it clear. I speak like the Nigerian on the street. It's not as if I want to speak the other way, I cannot. I speak like Nigerian on the street. You see, the issue is, we should be a little rational. It's not an issue of rhetorics. We should be a little rational. That the Senate President will get himself involved in robbery just immediately after Dino Melaye has also gotten himself involved in robbery. You see, I am not PDP.
But will you take it away that they are not political thugs, though we are not political thugs?
See, the way I say it is, I don't even want to have a link with, that is, I don't even want to see any link with the boys, the criminals, the robbers, and the legislature of Saraki himself. I don't even want to believe that there's any link. I want to believe that there's a doctoring somewhere.
Okay, that is a frame-up.
It's a frame-up. That's what I want to believe. Because you see, what is happening, with due respect, what we are seeing now is issue of, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'll break you. You either bend to what I want or be prepared to be broken. And you see, in as much as I really want to go deep into the political activities that is happening of recent, we are aware of what you call the group, is it a NPDP?
The new PDP.
The new PDP and the other ones. How come it's only this group that have been persecuted and things are happening? You see, if we really want democracy to strive, we should call a spade a spade. It is not like I use the word semantics. We should call a spade a spade. What is right should be seen as right, and what is wrong should be seen as wrong. Democracies that have developed in the world, they developed not the people playing politics with it. They did the right thing. If this body, the duty of the responsibility of this body is to checkmate the excesses of this body, and they do it, I don't see anything wrong with it. But you see yourself as doing the right thing and not persecuting people because they are doing their job. We are fully aware how a senator was assaulted in this state simply because he moved the motion for the impeachment of the president. And then tomorrow you hear that that senator is being persecuted by way of being persecuted, and then you will say we will not make a link to it.
All right, thank you.
See, we are watching. We are not fools.
Thank you. Washington Osifo, let's draw the line as we round off. Like what Comrade Cosmos just said, he believes that there's a frame-up of this, and there's this impression that the federal government, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, seems to be lopsided in this. Do you think it's a framework? It's a framework?
No, first, he has not said so. The federal government under the leadership of Buhari.
No. I said it seems like what is being argued.
But I just said
what is being argued. No, I didn't put it to him.
Okay.
But
okay,
what
fine.
I said is, with all of this coming up, there is this impression that the federal government, as led by President Muhammadu Buhari, is lopsided. Do you see it in that direction? Because that's where all of this is coming from.
One of the elements of democracy is that we are free, we have independence to contribute however we want to contribute. But sometimes recklessly so too. But you see, in my concluding remarks, I said it before, that the offense of the National Assembly versus the executive is this unnecessary grandstanding. When you grandstand unnecessarily, you take your eyes off the substance, and self-aggrandizement becomes the order of the day. You don't have the eyes to see good things again. You just do things and it's lopsided, and the country is not getting better for it. That's exactly what I said. Now, how does that now connect with this issue of a robbery, where they are partly accusing Saraki, the Senate president? I tell you, Saraki is saying that the IG is responsible for this. Because he invited the IG, therefore the IG is also calling for his neck.
Okay.
Now, are you not seeing what I said before? That it is criminal when you hold power on behalf of the people, whether elected or appointed. It is criminal to use it as your personal estate. How are you using it as your personal estate? If you turn it as a machine for vendetta, if the IG is responding because he sees that he was being persecuted, by Saraki, for what reason I don't know, and for that there is a line drawn between him and Saraki, and Saraki is also saying you want to respond.
Okay, but
excuse me.
But if we have to go on that argument, well, the IGP, if
yes.
we have to go on that,
yes.
will the IGP be doing this without the approval of the president?
Now, you see, there is nothing, in most cases, there's nothing like vicarious liability. I was a commissioner. It will be very stupid for anybody to think that as commissioner, whether of education or energy and water resources, all my actions and inactions were things that I was told to do by my boss, Adams Oshomole. No. You see, when you are elected or appointed, the mantle of leadership has been given to you. You have your discretion, either to act in a way that you will succeed, or you act in a way that you'll be disappointed out of office. And for me, all that I did based on my conscience. And that is why you can distinguish between, you see people all 24, 26 representing the state, you can mark them. This is what this one is known for, and this is what, all that I did, I'm submitting. I have said it here before, that I cannot claim that all that I did were legal. Okay? So, but what I have said is that on moral grounds, those things I couldn't do because they will create results, and they probably were not legal. But on moral ground, I didn't want to leave the office to see that I didn't do it because I had legal constraints.
Okay, so
then I turned to morality.
Okay.
Now the question is, why do you think, for instance, that the president would direct the IG first not to even go to the National Assembly to honor the? How do you not think that the president will sit with the IG and say, go and frame Saraki up? Logically, does it make sense? To me, it may make sense to a lot of persons, but logically, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you. I take that as a parting shot. We are pressed for time. Well, Dr. Michael.
You see, the difference between the legislation and the executive,
yes,
or the difference between autocracy and democracy is the legislature. So if an arm of the government, or if an employee of the executive or an appointee of the executive, as the person of the Inspector General of Police, was invited by the Senate to appear before it to explain the gruesome killing of people in the northern or in the middle belt hemisphere of the country, and he failed to appear. In fact, I don't know what to call that. That is unconstitutional.
Okay.
Because the Senate has the power to summon any head of government agency or parastatal to appear before it to explain society things to the people. Okay. It is a delegation or a collectiveness of the people. I don't know if you understand now. So if the Inspector General of Police was summoned by the Senate and he didn't appear there, then he should be prosecuted.
Okay, so in all of this, you see the National Assembly has not been faced with any integrity issues that is failing to meet up with.
Yeah, the National Assembly has its own issues. The leadership in particular of the National Assembly, they have their own issues. Okay, nobody is free. Okay. This corruption we're talking about has eaten deep into the society, into the fabric.
Thank you, Dr. Michael.
I don't know if you understand. So,
thank you. Thank you. Well, you've been very articulate, erudite on this, and I do hope that you give us the opportunity to have you again on discussion.
Thank you
very much. Well, thank you very much, Comrade Cosmos Irabor. As we round off, a minute.
Well, it is an obvious fact.
Your parting shot.
That when you are an appointee of somebody,
yes,
to a very considerable extent, you will dance to the tune of that person. If the National Assembly had invited the Inspector General of Police and he refused to come first and second and third time, and the power that be that appointed him did not caution him, it's an obvious fact that something is
behind it.
Transparent, something is going on somewhere. And linking it to this one, well, my party shot is simple. This National Assembly, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best. In as much as you don't see, I will not say they are perfect, but comparatively to those that have existed, the best.
Thank you very much, Comrade Cosmos Irabor. Thank you, Washington Osifo.
Thanks for
having me. I believe you've had enough of views.
It's okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Thank you. Well, it's been awesome. We've been on this road looking at the National Assembly and the integrity question. And I've been having a talk show with this very brilliant gentleman on the subject. But well, we look at how to bring up this as issues develop in order to ensure that we have transparent government cutting across the various arms of government.